You know, I just don't get it. I don't understand how people don't understand this car. I'm not talking about the Mustang. I'm talking about the HPP package. I still cannot comprehend why people haven't understood what this means. Not even a 1.5 million subscriber YouTube channel that does automotive reviews understands what this car is. And that just blows my mind because it's not hard to understand. I get it. The regular EcoBoost already had a hard enough time as it is, living up next to the almighty Coyote GT. And then when Ford came out with this, it really didn't help anything at all. You thought, well, maybe even a more capable EcoBoost car would actually gain more reputation amongst the Mustang family, and no, it didn't. It remained absolutely the same. This means nothing. These GT Performance brakes mean nothing. This Focus RS version of the 2.3 that makes ridiculous power means nothing. Performance Pack front splitter, Performance Pack belly pan, special interior with a unique chassis number like a Shelby Mustang. Apparently, none of that makes a difference. Oh my God. People, you're killing me. Tell me how all of that does not make this car any different than a regular EcoBoost. And tell me how all of that combined still makes this car inferior to a GT. All I gotta say is the people that are skeptical may want to reconsider, because this car will definitely come for your GT's lunch if you're on the track.
Uh-oh.
Let's have some fun on Cars Created.
Realistically, the Straight Pipes review on this car was pretty good. You know, I'm not saying that their review was bad. I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch it. They should have never made it. No, I'm not saying that at all. However, I do want to say that I do firmly believe that they made some very critical errors in their evaluation of the car they had, which was a convertible, fully loaded convertible HPP. I think they made some critical errors when evaluating that car, especially the car's handling. Okay, I don't know how many cars you have ever driven, but I've driven a lot of freaking cars. In a lot of my past jobs I've had access to cars that I will likely never afford. I've driven a lot. I've driven everything from the cheapest to six-figure cars. And I can tell you that this car here does not handle like a $30,000 car. I've driven a lot of cars. This car here is the best handling car that I have personally driven. Maybe some of the cars I have driven are more capable. I just haven't had enough seat time to really see what they can do. But this car, I have had a lot of seat time, and I know exactly what this car can do. And the answer is a freaking lot, okay? This car is so impressive when it comes to handling, it's not even funny. So like in the Straight Pipes review, I just have to say that why would they judge a rear-wheel drive car's lack of handling by reviewing said car on what looks like to be a very cold day in some very uneven, twisty roads on most likely summer-rated tires? There was a lot of problems going on with that, and their complaint was how uneasy it felt in the rear. Okay, well, I watched them do it. Like, they almost, like, there's a part where they're like, oh, we almost Mustanged ourselves, because you did exactly what you shouldn't do when driving these cars. Floor it out of a turn. People think that because it's a 4-cylinder, there is no torque. That's absolutely wrong. This engine makes a lot of torque, and if you're above 3,000 RPM and you punch it, especially around a turn, I don't care if you have traction control on or not, that back end's coming out from you. Definitely when the freaking roads are cold and the tires are cold, you're not going to be able to control that 100%. If it was an NA 4-cylinder, yeah, go ahead, floor it coming out of that turn, because you're going to need to. You don't need to do this. You have to treat this car like a V8 car. You have to wait until you're out of that turn before you can come in the full power. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to. That's a mistake I don't understand why people make, and they don't think these cars have power. Not to mention that the HPP version comes with a 355 rear gear set, unlike a normal EcoBoost, which is a like 273 or whatever, you know, and unless you get the performance pack EcoBoost, the ones that came before this, then you get the better gear set. But still, those were completely different, okay? This you have to treat like a V8. And it seems like they were trying to drive it like a 4-cylinder car and complaining because it was behaving like a rowdy V8 car. Additionally to driving the car wrong and to being on cold roads with summer-rated tires, they also had the convertible version. So the convertible version of any car is first of all going to be heavier. It's going to be a little bit different than a hardtop version of that same car. And the way it handles, the characteristics can definitely be different, because where they have to put additional reinforcements to help stiffen up the body can alter the balance of the car, okay? Number one problem right there. Hardtop is the way to go when it comes to extracting the handling characteristics of the S550 chassis. That applies to any S550 car. I don't care if it's EcoBoost, GT350, even though they never came in a convertible. You get what I'm trying to say. You have to have the hardtop first and foremost. So by having that convertible just made their life even worse. And I'm pretty sure that car did not have Magnet Ride. This car doesn't have Magnet Ride either. And this car can take a turn at speeds that I would never attempt in any other car. I could take a turn with confidence knowing that this car will do it at speeds I would never attempt in any other car. And this is without Magnet Ride. With Magnet Ride, this car would even do it with more confidence. So like, there was just a lot of characteristics. I think they were judging the HPP package based off this one particular car, which that was a critical error. So like I said, I'm not saying that they're wrong in a sense. I'm just saying that I believe they made some critical errors when deciding to critique the HPP car. And you know, the crap part is that they have such a huge following. Of course, you're going to have people in full agreement with what they're saying about this car and pretty much how useless it is among S550 family. Like, kind of mocking the fact that Ford put this 2.3 badge on the side. I mean, I don't understand why they would mock this. This is no different than having a GT badge here. This is just telling you what it is. I mean, if I put a big GT or 5-liter badge here, what would you say about that? No different. But for some reason, they mocked it because it was a 2.3. And just overall, they just didn't seem to understand who this car was for and why it was even created in the first place. I know the answer to that question, but it seems like the majority of people don't know the answer to that question. Definitely the black sheep of the S550 Mustang generation. I don't think there is really, I think this is even more misunderstood than just a regular EcoBoost, hands down. And that's really, really unfortunate, because this car is so good. In fact, in the comment section of their video, the only people that really had anything good to say about this car were the people who owned it, including me. Of course, I had to chime in too. And aside from that, everyone else just wanted to laugh at it, or to just agree with the fact that, why does this even exist? This car exists for people who want the most out of a Mustang without going to a GT level. I would not buy an EcoBoost Mustang if it wasn't for the HPP package. This package completely changed my idea about the EcoBoost Mustang. Not to say I ever disliked the EcoBoost Mustang before, but I would never spend my money on one. When this came out, that changed everything. Though this wasn't my first pick for the daily in replacement of the SHO, it was on the list of replacements. It just happened to be the first stop in the hunt for a replacement. And I tell you, once I got behind the wheel, that's all I needed to do. I went back and signed papers because I knew that this car was special. I've driven S550 GT Mustangs. I know the power of them. Yeah, they're a little bit more power, especially up top, stock versus what is the little bit that is onto this. This car still pulls really good, and it has plenty of power. It's so fun to drive, so rewarding to drive, and I just have incredible fun driving this car. And I am so happy that I bought this car and did not waste additional money on a base GT, because all I would have gotten was a big old V8 under the hood, and that was it. I wouldn't have gotten better brakes. I wouldn't have got a very unique and appealing visual package to the car. I wouldn't have got this exclusive type feeling to the car, like the, you know, chassis, the numbered chassis and all that comes with the HPP. It feels a lot more special than you think it should be. It almost gives you that exclusivity of like a Shelby or something. It has that uniqueness about it. I wouldn't have got that with that GT. I wouldn't have got a fraction of what I got for this car. I would have just sat there, signed papers on that GT. I don't think I would have been nearly as happy as I am now with this car. And you think that's counterintuitive, right? Like, well, why wouldn't you be happy with a GT Mustang? Why are you so much more happier with a 4-cylinder? What kind of car person are you? A real one. That's the answer. I'm a real car guy, so it don't matter what's under here. See, what makes 4-cylinders cool is as long as you have one of these next to it, it's all good. Like I said, this car is for someone who wants the most out of a Mustang and doesn't want to buy a GT. You can save yourself a tremendous amount of money by buying one of these as a base model. You got to do a few things to squeeze a little extra power out of this, and with that, this car will outtrack any Mustang GT, a GT350, and I dare to say it, with the right amount of power, this thing is keeping up with a GT500 all day long on a track. And you're like, okay, nope, I'm done listening right there. You lost me. Well, let me tell you something. This little thing up here weighs 200 pounds less than a 5-liter, okay? Just imagine a GT500 engine with the blower and all the other things that go on top of it. That's an additional probably close to 100 pounds more on the nose of the car. A GT500 weighs like over 4,000 pounds. I mean, most of them are like 41, 4,200. And that's even if you get the track pack with like all the carbon fiber. So you have this heavy, heavy car. And you compare it to something like this, a base model HPP, without, you know, with the regular cloth interior and whatnot, you're around 3,600 pounds with this car. Maybe, I don't know, maybe less, maybe more. Without me in it, I'm not sure. I never weighed it, but that's what it's supposed to weigh. It's about 3,600 pounds. So right there, that is 600 pounds difference. And that's also 300 pounds different up here. This car is going to turn in a lot more aggressively. You're going to be able to enter a turn a lot quicker with this. I am comparing a modified HPP up against what would probably be a otherwise stock GT500. You don't have to do much to get the potential out of this car. And what I'm trying to say is, with a few $1,000s worth of mods, you're taking this EcoBoost Mustang and you're putting it at a level of a car that cost twice as much, 3 times as much, 2.5 times to 3 times as much, there we go, depending on how you spec it. So that's what I'm trying to say. This is really one of the best cars you can buy from Ford right now. With that, I just cannot believe people still don't understand why this car exists and what this car is for and who this car is for. Everything I just said in this video is exactly who, what, when, why, where. That's why this car exists. This car is for the person who wants the most out of their Mustang, who wants to actually do things to their Mustang, and who wants to be able to have the performance of a car twice as much without spending twice as much. That's exactly who buys this car, and that's exactly what this car is for. Too bad that the bigger channels just don't seem to understand, but I do. So if you want to continue seeing HPP content and showing the world what these cars are for, then hang around this channel. I will definitely prove it. But otherwise, it's gonna wrap it up here for this video. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with everyone you know. If you want to see more content like this and you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep a lookout for the next true car enthusiast Mustang EcoBoost HPP enthusiast video.